For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business.
Hey guys, this is Melissa Bachman. Are you ready to stop spooking deer before it's even time to hunt them? Then you need the new Flex S Dark cellular trail camera from SpyPoint. With a no-glow flash option, long-lasting solar power, and a ton of settings that can be changed anytime through the SpyPoint app, there are no more excuses for letting your deer get wise before the season even starts. So check it out for yourself and see why the SpyPoint Flex S Dark is the unstoppable and undetectable scouting tool you need for your next hunt.
He said that he can tell the different leopard growls, and he said that she probably thought we were actually a hyena, and they do that kind of low grunt to basically say, I'm going to come in and kick all your butts and chase you out of here. He's like, she's coming in to fight and she's somewhere behind us. And as we are talking about her, we hear this and like, we're like, I like point the gun in the bushes and like, I'm like, what is happening?
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another great episode for you today. Today, we're actually connecting with Zack Butterfield. He's another individual who found our little survey, filled it out, said I have some stories to tell, and man, his stories are great. In fact, we ran out of time. Unfortunately, I had to jump to another call, but he tells some crazy story about being in Africa and hunting hyenas, as well as some stories about snakes and all sorts of stuff. Either way, we'll have Zack on again in the future. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Zack is an avid hunter out of Utah, mental health therapist. Check out his stuff. If you're struggling with anything, it is really important, to keep your head right. And I think Zack and his people can help, specifically if you're in Utah, and I think in the future, shortly, outside of Utah. But that's enough for now. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Give us a follow, a like, a subscribe, all that. Now let's let Zack tell you some of his stories. Thank you. All right, Zack, welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing really well, man. I'm excited to talk to you. You're one of the folks that filled out my little form and said, hey, I've got some stories to tell.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. And you actually put some pretty good information in there that had my interest piqued, and I thought you were going to ghost me. But here we are. We managed. I guess my email went to your junk or something, but I'm glad we're here, man. I'm glad to hear your stories.
I usually check my junk once a month, but I just never saw it. But I'm glad you reached out again and to chat, because I have loved listening to you and what you've been doing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. But let's do this. The people aren't here to hear from me. They're here to hear from you. Why don't you give us a little bit of a introduction for yourself so that the people know who they're hearing some stories from?
Yeah, so I'm a pretty unique individual, and I think it ties into the stories I want to share and also just to understand my mindset. So I am living in Utah, born and raised in Utah, and I am a mental health therapist. Hopefully that doesn't scare anyone away, but I'm really, really invested in helping rural people with their mental health, because we have higher suicide rates, domestic violence rates, and substance abuse rates. And there's just not great resources that communicate or talk in our language. But I found that a good chunk of my hunting experiences has been foundational to my understanding of, what leads to good human health and human behavior. And I convey that in a book I published last year, and I do try to we learn as outdoorsmen, as you've captured in your podcast, we learn from stories and storytelling, and that's integral into our culture. And so that is very much a heavy basis of my book, is deliberately telling certain stories to, convey ideas of how to improve your marriage, how to improve yourself, how to improve being a parent, stuff like that. So I've got my practice here in Utah. I've got several therapists working for me that are very talented, and have been obsessed with hunting my entire life. Have been to Africa twice, went black bear hunting this year. Elk hunting is probably my favorite, and hopefully I'll get one in 2 weeks, and then taking my younger brother's deer hunting a couple weeks after that. And so it's a big part of my life, and I love it.
That's awesome, man. Well, what's the name of your book? I want to ask that first.
Yeah, the book is Hunting for Happiness, the outdoorsman's guide to getting rid of buck fever, cowboying up, and enjoying life.
That's a great title. Okay,
Yeah.
and then we'll get right into the stories, but don't let me forget after we're done recording that I may have a referral for you, because I haven't really talked about this, but this hunting season, there are 3 of us in the woods, and one of my hunting buddies just snapped and stormed off, just yelling "F you" and all this stuff. And me and my other guy were like, "I don't know what just happened." So he may need a little talking to. We were like, "Hey, bro, you do whatever you want to do. We're not trying to upset you. Like, let's just all calm down." And we got a big "F you" to the face, and he stormed off the other direction, and he left camp a few days early. So. Everybody needs their moments, and it's not easy what we do in the woods, right?
Nope.
You're pushing yourself harder in every way you possibly can. But yeah, I think it's important to have strong mental health, and he's got plenty of things going on in his life that I don't know about, and so we're trying to give him some grace. But
and I mean,
I'll introduce you to him.
Yeah, great. Well, and this will come online in, I think you said, a couple weeks, but like there's been in the news about those 2 hunters that died from the lightning strike recently, and here in Utah, the Charlie Kirk fallout is still pretty big, as in many areas. And so I think it's a really important time in general. Not that the 2 hunters had anything with their mental health, but there's a lot of grief and sadness and things to work through in these scenarios. And so
or fear, right?
Yeah, and
people
fear.
I've talked to some hunters. They're like, "Man, I've always been scared of lightning," and that's what got those 2 hunters.
Yes.
And they're like, "I don't know if I want to go back out there." And I'm like, I try and say, like, hey, they say winning the lottery is like getting struck by lightning, so like you're not that lucky. Like, but I'm sure there's better ways to handle that from a mental health perspective.
For sure. So I guess I just encourage everyone, like, take care of yourselves, deal with what you need to, and however it's manifesting, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
So.
Yes. Well, we'll make sure to put links to your book and maybe your practice, whatever else you want in the show notes. So I do encourage people to check it out. I think mental health is really important, underutilized.
Yes.
But yeah, let's dive into stories. That's why we're here, Zach. What do you got for us? You set the stage on the first story.
How about I tell you about hunting hyenas in Africa last year?
Perfect.
So when I went to Africa my first time, one of my guides asked, or one of my PHs, as I like to call professional hunters, he asked what my favorite thing was hunting in the States. And I said elk hunting. And he said, he asked why. And I said, there's nothing more thrilling to me than getting in the midst of competing, groups of elk that are, bugling their minds out, fighting, crashing, the noise, the chaos of getting in the midst of that. That is my favorite thing. And he said the equivalent of that in Africa is hunting hyenas or hunting hippos. And I was like hyena wasn't on my radar, nor really is hippo. Other than hippo is like the best food I've ever had in my life. It is the best piece of meat. Yeah, without question.
Here's a funny story that you bring this up. I hunt with Robin Warman from the Wild Dispatch podcast. He's awesome. He was not the one that exploded this year, but we were talking. He was squirrel hunting, and I told you he was squirrel hunting. And so something that we did while we were in the woods, kind of between things, we had okay service, is like we would he was like, man, the squirrels here are so small. He's like, I bet the California chipmunks could take out one of these squirrels. And so we started putting chat GPT to prompt animal battles, and we were reading them to each other. So I have an epic story between California chipmunk and a Colorado squirrel. Colorado squirrel won. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. But we eventually evolved and just kept going with different animals, and the hippo was undefeated no matter what. They are the most dangerous animal out there, man. They're crazy. I think maybe an elephant was a draw, but everything else we could come up with, grizzly bear, elk, everything was just getting bounced by these hippos. They're crazy.
Which is a big part of my hyena story. Well, not a big part, but a part of my hyena story is the danger of hippos. But I was really intrigued by this idea of basically hunting the elk equivalent at night, which is like the hyena hunting.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to this my trip last year. So I got there, and my current PH, whose name is Dylan, extremely talented hunter. He's like, what's on your list this trip? And I was like, well, hyena's number one. And he's like, are you serious? Do you know what this entails? And I was like, tell me. And he's like, you are outside all night, and it gets cold in Africa. So you're cold, it's windy, and you sit and you do hyena calls all night, and you just like hope one crosses like the listening range and runs into you. And he said it is really boring, it is really cold, it is really long, but there are few things in Africa that are as intense as hyenas barking and howling and laughing, running towards you.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And he said, you feel it in your bones. And I was like, that's what I want. And he's like, okay, fine. So we started driving around, just, seeing what we could see, hunt some of the other animals that were on my list. And we started chasing a really big impala. And as we were following its trails, we came across fresh hyena prints. Okay. And he was like, you are the luckiest hunter. Like, it is not common we come across this. So we ended up not catching up to that impala, but we went back and followed the tracks. And the tracks went to the fence line and underneath. And we saw that this particular hyena had crossed over this fence path like twice. Okay. And in his experience, they usually try visiting a place 3 or 4 times before they go to a new place scavenging. And so he said, we kind of have to do this tonight. This tonight or tomorrow night, this is our shot. At getting this hyena. He's like, you're just unbelievably lucky. So we got to do this. So, my uncle had gotten, I think, a different impala that day. So we used its guts to do a drag line from that into this dry riverbed, because a lot of Africa is just really, really thick brush. But we went to this
a drag line, just because I'm not fully sure, but you take the guts, you just basically pull it along the dirt so they can sniff all the way to where you want them.
Pull it behind the truck. And so then they won't go downwind of you. They'll follow the scent trail to where they want to. And it gets them more excited that way. So we drug it from the fence into this dry riverbed, left like the gut pile, set up a blind, and then we sat down for night. And we had a thermal scope gun that we were like sighting in last minute, and it was a different gun than I was going to use for my other animals. Okay. But it was pitch black, and he said, okay, how about you like turn on the thermal scope, look around, get used to, seeing things, and you'll see like the trees still have some warmth on one side, stuff like that.
That's cool.
So I turn it on, and I'm looking, and across the riverbed there's a group of water buck, and I can see based off of their shape, I'm like, okay, there's some water buck across from us. And he's like, okay, like get comfortable, like if you were to shoot them, aiming at them, stuff like that. So I was doing that, and then I shift over next to the water buck, and there is a massive, just like heat white spot. And I was like, there's a hippo. And he's like, are you effing kidding me? And I was like, I don't think so. So he grabs the gun, looks at the thermal scope for a little bit. And in the process of doing that, it turned broadside, and he goes, well, it's not a hippo, but it's not a ton better. It's the mama rhino and her baby.
Oh, God.
So he's like, keep an eye on him. He's like, the white rhino, thankfully, isn't super aggressive. So, she should stay kind of over there, but, keep an eye on her. So like, okay.
Did he talk to you at all about, because the white rhino is endangered, right? Like, you can't shoot a white rhino.
So the northern white rhino is extinct, technically, even though I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 of them left. This is the southern white rhino, and you can get permits to hunt them. They're extremely expensive. You have to get at least like a year or 2 background check from Interpol, that you're not going to like traffic the ivory and stuff like that. So there's a lot into it. And if you have rhinos on your land like they did, they have to like, meet certain permits, have frequent inspections. We were there the last day when the veterinarian came to check on one rhino, and he was there when we were there when he tranquilized it, and we got to go up and touch it, take pictures with it while he was doing the tests on it. That was one of the coolest experiences too. So
okay, so what happens if you get attacked by one? Like, is self-defense reasonable, or are you going to jail?
Yeah, I would say that self-defense is reasonable. You keep the trucks fairly close to you, and you probably book it to run. I think you'd have to make a pretty solid case, but since the rhinos were part of this kind of maybe an equivalent of like a CWMU unit here in the States, they pick how much rhinos they have on their land, but you would probably be in pretty big trouble regardless.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, we would just get ready to run.
It'd be a headache and
yes. But the white rhino thankfully is not as aggressive as the black rhino, and they didn't have black rhinos. They just had white rhinos, which were really nice. Fun to see. While we were there were also poachers that came onto their property, and that was also a very unique and unnerving experience to think that there's kind of poachers wandering around their land. So
I've heard that it could be isn't it like a death sentence if you get caught for poaching in some parts of Africa?
Yeah.
So if you come up on them, they fight back for their life. So it's a pretty crazy scenario, I've heard.
I would say that it does end in a shooting match. The police and the state government officials supposedly turn blind eyes if you shoot poachers. And my understanding,
you can hunt the most dangerous game.
My understanding is that
bow hunting all comes down to a moment, and in the moment, you want equipment on your bow that will get the job done. Trophy Ridge products are the tools bow hunters trust. React technology sights, rests, stabilizers, and quivers to help a bow hunter be successful in the field. And those tools are from Trophy Ridge.
Hey hunters, have you ever had one of those stories, the ones that you didn't want to tell, the ones that end in failure? Yeah, I've been there. Actually, you know what? The culprit for me usually is bad optics, or worse, lack of using my optics at all. Picture this. I spot a trophy buck, or an antelope, or an elk, whatever it may be. My heart is racing, but the blurry view, or I just can't quite identify exactly what I'm looking at, it has me second guessing. Well, that's where Vortex Optics comes in. With crystal clear glass and rugged durability, Vortex gives you the confidence to take the shot. Don't let poor optics ruin your story. Make every moment count. Upgrade to Vortex and turn your hunting tales into triumphs. Visit vortexoptics.com today.
They weren't specific about it, but my guess is they might feed them to the crocs. So
My goodness. It is
okay. It is a pretty crazy world over there.
We're going down rabbit holes here. I love it.
I love it too.
So they were there. Was that situation resolved? I think that's the politest way I can ask. What happened there?
The rhinos, once we started doing
the
that,
poachers, not the rhinos.
Oh, the poachers. I did not hear about them. They did kind of a drop in tracking, probably 2 days. So you just see random footprints in places that there have not been any hunters. And so then they called in the police and stuff like that. They set up walls, but normally they track where the rhinos are, and then they wait 2 or 3 days, and then they come in. So that probably would have been after we left, but I hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard anything.
Okay, so the poachers are always going after rhinos because it's high value. They're not looking for okay. So they're not just feeding their family poachers.
No, there are those too, but after the rhinos, they're trying to get the ivory to sell, and it's pretty brutal. Some of the hunting guides function as anti-poachers for the national parks and stuff like that on off seasons, And some of the stories they shared were pretty awful in general. Like they would come up on rhinos that were still alive, but they'd been tranquilized or shot and then just had the nose cut off and run away as they're still just like, like
the whole nose or just the horn? Because I've heard I've heard that they've actually started doing that as like to stop the poachers. Is like they just take the horns off the rhinos.
So some of them are surgically removing. Some of the poaching ones, it's like they kill them, they cut it off, and then they've just kind of like left them to die.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, that's awful.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's it's I feel like it's a very complicated issue, but like they did have some pretty awful stories for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Sorry. Rabbit holes.
No.
Back to
I
you
love
in the
rabbit
dark
holes.
with your rhinos and your water bucks. Okay.
Yeah. So when we started doing the hyena calls, so my understanding of what was explained to me is that when hyenas find their meat to scavenge or whatever, they call, and usually there's others that are spread out in different areas, and then they come towards that.
Gotcha. They're gritting.
Yes.
More or less.
Yes.
All right.
So it was me, my cousin, my friend, my guide, my tracker, my cousin's guide, just sitting behind this little blind, and we start doing the hyena calls.
How wide is this blind? Like, how deep are you guys?
We set it up on the road, and so that we had like a good view, and we were kind of sitting in like paralleled lines, and it was just kind of obstructing the front. They said like with leopards or lions, you want to do a 360 enclosure, but hyenas, you just need a barrier between you and them for the wind.
It's a lot of guys, but all right, keep going.
Yeah, well, in my experience having the thermal scope was very different than my cousin and my friends and the others. That it is pitch black and you are just hearing terrifying noises. Gosh. Like it's so we are maybe 10 minutes into hyena calling, and we hear a hyena call back. And I'm like, he's close. Like, because it was just so loud. I was like, that thing's close. And Africa's, pretty flat. And so, like, it echoed, which is, I can't understand the physics of it. But, like, its call echoed. And I was like, that
Quick question. Are you calling from your location, or are you calling, is it like a call box out by the guts?
Yeah,
I hope it's by the guts.
We set up a microphone about like 30 yards away from us on the top of kind of this dam in the river to kind of like add in the echo, and it is a little bit different from us.
Yeah, I don't want to call those things in right to me.
Yeah, right. So this thing calls back in like 10, 15 minutes, and he's just like, you are even luckier. Like, this just does not happen in hyena hunting. And so like I was saying, it sounded loud. I was like, he's close. And he's like, that thing is like still 2 miles away. He's like, that thing is not close. And he's like, and he's like, listen, it'll keep calling as it's running towards us. We didn't hear anything after that first one. We just heard the first one, and then it was quiet. And he's like, he could still be coming. So he's like, that happens rarely, but it happens. So he's like, keep doing the thermal scope, keep checking the tree lines, keep checking the trail. And we just have to like sit and wait since he's not calling.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 minutes after that, behind us, we hear this.
Oh God.
And he whispers to me, and he's like, that's a leopard. And so I'm like, okay, I got a hyena running at us from one direction. Maybe there's a rhino somewhere in the trees over there, and there's now a leopard behind me.
Yeah, good thing you got 8 bodies behind you.
Yes.
It'll fill up before it gets to you.
Yes. And then you have like a couple jackals going off. So, I mean, just sounding like a coyote, but still in the pitch black, it's still a little unnerving, And so I'm looking around, and my heart is racing. And all of a sudden, the thermal scope, I see this hyena trotting along, running with his nose down, smelling kind of the scent we did. And I'm like, he's here. And he's like, okay, get ready for him to stop at the bait. So he gets to the bait, pauses for maybe a half second, and then starts running towards us, towards the call.
No way.
And I'm like, he didn't stop. He's coming towards us. So my guide is like frantically trying to turn the call off. He stops maybe like 30 minutes away from us, facing me.
You said minutes. Did you mean yards, feet?
Sorry, yards. Yes, yards.
Okay.
Yeah. So like real close, you know?
Yeah.
And even though they're not predators, it still has teeth and they're still aggressive.
Yeah.
So
doesn't it have like the second strongest bite in the world beyond like a hippo?
So.
Yeah.
I think so, because they tear off a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he stops facing us with his chest. So I take a shot, and you hear that so you like hit it. So I hit him in the front. I go to shoot him again, and he's kind of in the same spot. I shoot. I think I missed that one. And then I catch him again, and he kind of stops to lick his wound. By about the bait again. I shoot again. I think I hit him that time. And then I take another pop shot as he runs off.
Okay.
So then we were like freaking out. Like my cousin and my friend are like, what just happened? Like, this is crazy. Like we're hearing all these noises. Suddenly you're shooting. Like, we were told this was going to be like a 6-hour event, you know, like this is all in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? And I said, like, I told like my guy Dylan, I was like, dude, I'm really nervous about this leopard. And my cousin's like, there's a leopard? That was like a leopard behind us? And he's like, yeah. And she was coming in to fight. He said that he can tell the different leopard growls. And he said that she probably thought we were actually a hyena, and they do that kind of low grunt to basically say, I'm going to come in and kick all your butts and chase you out of here. And
Gosh.
and so like he's like, she's coming in to fight, and she's somewhere behind us. And as we are talking about her, we hear this and like we're like, I like point the gun in the bushes, and like I'm like, what is happening? And he's like, oh, we're good now. And I was like, what do you mean we're good now? Like, she just like started growling at us. And he's like, that's their growl they do to like let other leopards know that there's a human in the area. So she smelled us now, or she knows like she hears us chatting. And so like she's not gonna like mess with us more.
Right? They're like, something's wrong, let's get out of here. Okay. Got it.
Exactly. So he was like, we're good now. I was like, I do not feel confident about this at all. So
now let's walk into the dark and find that wounded dog.
Right.
God, okay.
So we go, instantly find blood, and instantly find a lot of blood. And you know the blood patterns where there's the bubbles in it. So you likely hit a lung. And every time it tried taking, a step or a run, you see like the splatter out. So we're feeling pretty confident this thing is down. So we follow it, and we're kind of in a line with our headlamps and stuff.
Just holding each other's belts.
Yes. And we get to where it goes into the trees, and we find very quickly where it lays down and there's a pool of blood. And so we're like, okay, we're not going to, go tromping in the trees with like 7 people. So we know that it was probably aiming to go back under the fence. And so we went, my cousin and my friend and his guide went to the fence line, and we kept following him through the forest. And
how far was your setup from the fence? I know you drove, but I don't know if we
were
mentioned how far it is.
we were probably about like 500 yards from the fence.
Okay.
But we had thick brush between us and the fence.
Okay.
So and then like the road kind of cut around to the fence. So he was more trying to take like a direct line. So
gotcha. And is the fence like barbed wire, like he can cross it at any point, or is it a pretty solid wall that he just has?
Pretty solid
point?
Wall. Warthogs will bury or burrow underneath the fences, and then all the predators can use that, and then other small antelope and stuff like that use that.
Gotcha. I'm assuming that if he leaves, goes through that fence, is gone. Like you can't access.
They'll the landowners are all pretty friendly with each other, and so it's just you just call the landowner and go. So we basically track him, and he has like 3 different spots where he lays down, and then we find him going under the fence. So we decide, like he's obviously still moving, probably not that smart to chase, him still that he's still active and moving in the dark. So, let's go to bed, come back in the morning, which I was kind of sick about. I agreed with it, but that doesn't feel good to me per se. So
yeah. And let me ask this real quick. It's not really a food animal. You're not super concerned about the meat being that it eats. It's a predator.
It eats trash, and so it tastes like trash.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I was guessing. All right.
Yeah.
So not as big of a deal to leave it overnight as something you wanted to chow down on. Okay. Got it.
But I still don't like it. As does any of us.
Yeah.
So we get up early. We go the next morning. We follow blood and prints for 7 miles.
Ooh.
And then it starts being like the blood trail is more like, and the trackers in Africa are crazy good. They are crazy, insanely good. And it got to a point the last mile that the blood wasn't fresh blood. It was blood that had dried from him rolling in the sand that had fallen off. And that was what we were kind of tracking for a little bit. And then his prints mixed in with 4 other hyena prints. We followed each hyena for, about like half mile each, found no additional blood. And they were like, this is impossible. So we ended up having to give up, which made me sick. They ended up finding a dead one like a week after I left. And so seems highly likely that's probably it, since it had bullet wounds in it. But does not feel good, to any of us. However,
do the other hyenas like scavenge that hyena? Like when it passes, are they like, I don't care, meat's meat?
We asked about that, and they said that they would think no, because when they set out like hyena carcasses on their, gut piles or bone piles, they do say that seems to be untouched. But like the birds and the mongoose and all the other stuff seem to tear that apart. Yeah.
Okay.
But they seem to think that they do not. Kind of like probably like black bears.
Got it.
As well. However, the rest of the hyena story is I decided to pay a smaller fee to try to get a second one. And we went out then like the last night, and my aunt joined us. And so it was like the same group plus my aunt, because she heard so much about that. She's like, that's the experience I want, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh man, your aunt sounds awesome. Okay.
Yeah, she's great. And so we decided that he didn't stay for, the gut pile we had left. So we made a bigger gut pile. We tied down a skull to a wood pile. We set up closer. The moon was out by this time, because this was like the last day of the hunt. So like we had moonlight. And the other thing that possibly was the case is that the bullets for the thermal gun were like those hollow bullets. So it may not have, stayed in and done as much damage per se. So we thought we corrected our errors. And so we sat down for another night, because the day before we found massive hyena prints, and actually 2 sets of hyena prints, with one of them being a monster, probably female, going up and down the fence line, basically the same fence line where I had gotten the other one.
Gotcha.
Or we lost the other one. And so we sat down that night, did about an hour of calling. It's cold, no responses, except there were a couple jackals going around, and then there were male impalas. When they are like in their mating season, which is that time, their mating call, I kid you not, sounds like demons crawling out of hell. Like go look up on YouTube. Yeah, go look up on YouTube like male impala noises, and imagine you are like in the dark, or you have light moonlight. It literally sounds like demons. Like it is.
Oh my gosh!
It is a terrifying noise. So I haven't heard this noise before. We didn't hear it the first night, but we have like maybe 5 or 6 of them going bananas around us. And he's like, don't worry, those are just impala. And I was like, that does not sound like an impala. It sounds like we're at the gates of hell and they're crawling out on us. So So we after an hour we take a break, we stretch, we like take sips of water, and then we sit back down to do another round of calling. Okay. And within like 5 minutes, we heard two. And it's probably the two on the other side of the fence instantly go, and you can tell they're running because when they like land, there's like this weird exhale, like a, and so we hear them like as they're like running. We can hear them running towards us, and I was like, they sound close, and he's like, those are still like 2 miles away. and these ones did not let up. They did not let up. They were howling the whole way in. And so my heart is pounding.
Running an outdoor business is a grind. One day you're glassing ridgelines or running dogs. The next you're tuning gear or working to keep the land wild. And somewhere in between, you're expected to fill calendars, move product, and keep your name alive. That's where the Ignite Marketing Group comes in. They work with outfitters, gear brands, and conservation groups to tell your story the way it deserves to be told, and to put it in front of the people who live for this lifestyle. Imagine a website that doesn't just sit there but actually books hunts. Imagine campaigns that don't feel like ads but like a buddy passing along a tip. Imagine your story reaching more hunters, anglers, and outdoor enthusiasts who get it and who want it. That's what Ignite does. No gimmicks, no flash, just real growth for people who belong in the outdoors. Don't just market, ignite it. Learn more at ignitemarketinggp.com/outdoors.
Hunting is not easy. It never has been. It takes dedication, motivation, a lot of patience, and quality gear. If you manage a food plot, put up stands, or need just one more game camera, we can help at MidwayUSA.com. We opened our doors in 1977 and continue to put customers first by offering super fast, same-day shipping. For just about everything for the outdoors, go to MidwayUSA.com.
As this is happening, we hear another hyena behind us start howling and barking and running towards us. And then we hear a hippo go, and he's like, that's a hippo, and that's not too far away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole animal kingdom is out to like attack us tonight, Gosh,
I want nothing to do with a hippo. Ugh.
And then from the other direction, we hear another hyena start coming in. But this hyena is like an octave lower than the others. So the others have like the this one has and
oh my goodness.
They are all running towards us, and it was a sensory overload. Overload with the impalas, the jackals, the hyenas. The hippo only made the call once. Sensory overload, and they are just getting closer and closer. And that feeling of you feel it in your bones, that is the best way to describe it, is like we could tell when the two that were running stopped because we left some bait by the fence, and we could tell that they were had stopped and were eating on it, and then they immediately started again. And we're about again that like 450, 500 yards, and they are so loud. And so they're coming, and he's like, "You get ready, like because they are coming down this trail." And right as it seems like they get right to the tree line, they make this weird like bark, and then like all of the hyenas go dead silent.
Oh my
and
gosh.
We then realized the wind shifted on us, and it blew right towards them, and they probably winded us. And then that was their like warning call, and they were all gone, all done. And so unfortunately, I did not recover a hyena that night or get another hyena, but that is without question the like most thrilling hunt I have ever done. It is truly insane. I loved every second of it. Truly insane.
So they found that hyena. They aren't.
Yes.
They never offered to like grab the skull or whatever and send it back to you or anything like that.
I'm getting the skull. The hide had holes and patches in it and was kind of already starting to wear down. So I get the skull. So
okay,
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
How and so when did you go on this hunt, and when are you getting the skull? It takes a long time.
Yeah, this was June of last year, and we've had a little bit of delays in the shipping, but I should be getting it, I would hope, December, January.
That's still so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, what an event, man.
I forgot to say I forgot
Go
to
ahead.
say, because I feel like this is a key part with all the sensory noise and stuff like that. And logically, I knew they're hyenas. There's maybe an element of danger, but not the most dangerous, you know? And the hippo and stuff like that, I was like shaking from the anxiety of it all. And my guide was like, "Hey, dude, are you cold?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Those are your nerves?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Just keep breathing, bro. Just keep breathing."
That's too funny, man. That's too funny.
But
That's a great story.
It was
dude.
amazing. It was truly incredible. I loved it. I really hope to do it again and recover one the night of.
Yeah. Are you planning on going back to Africa anytime soon, or is it just sort of like a pipe dream for some time in the future?
You know, the temporary plans is I'm saving money to go again in 2027.
Okay.
So I am working hard to save that, because it unfortunately was just, I thought I would go to Africa and then try out, you know, other places, but it is truly so incredible that unfortunately I think I'm ruined. I think I have to keep going back every once in a while.
Yeah, my buddy Robin, I mentioned him earlier. He lives in California, but his wife is from South Africa, so he goes down there and can kind of, not exactly DIY, but he's just got like buddies that are PHs, so he goes with his buddies, and it becomes kind of DIY. But he goes every year, and I'm jealous, man, because it sounds like so much fun, just so much fun.
I would, you know, you can kind of customize it and make it what you want. You can kind of get a cheaper option, which is still fun. I think some of the most fun I had was with warthogs and impalas and wildebeest. Not particularly expensive animals, but if you're looking for the experience, those animals are so much fun to chase. But I would totally encourage people. It is so worth it. It is really, really worth it. It's so much fun.
Awesome. Well, we're running out of time. Let's jump to the next one, man. What else you got? You talk big game, elk, bear. You got bit by a rattlesnake. Whatever you want to dive into, you tell me.
Well, let me tell you about the rattlesnake and then tie it in with the hyena story real quick. So I was prepping a couple months ago to go to hike Half Dome in Yosemite, and then also just like maintain the same physical shape for elk and deer season coming up. And so I'm in Utah in the Rocky Mountains. There's a really steep mountain by where I live, and I was with my uncle, and I'm terrified of snakes. I hate them so much. And so I'm coming down from the top of the mountain with my uncle, and this particular trail gets overgrown extremely quickly. So we're about maybe a fourth of the way down from the mountain, and I take a step and I hear a hiss, and I stop and I'm looking, and I cannot see where it is coming from. And I just am completely in a freeze response until I feel it strike me, and it's literally coiled up like 2 inches away from where I took a step. But because it was so thick and overgrown with the sunlight coming down, I could not distinguish its pattern from anything. So then after it bit me and I saw it, I jumped back, ran to my uncle. We had checked on my pants, we had checked on my leg. I didn't have any fang marks. So somehow unbelievably lucky that it did not use its fangs. I must have just scared it, but it was a big snake. So it was probably...
You felt it bite.
I felt it
but
strike.
It didn't bring its teeth out. God, that's crazy.
It didn't latch on, use its venom. I just felt it strike.
It's a warning shot.
Yeah. And then proceeded to have a panic attack meltdown, the rest of the time down the mountain, as we still have like 3 miles to go,
Yeah.
And here's maybe where I want to kind of like tie in the concepts, is in my counseling practice, I'm extremely focused on PTSD. I know the trauma response very well, inside and out. I know how to help people heal from it. But there's certain very interesting things that you don't get a logical say, and part of it is like if your sensory brain is deciding based off of what you're experiencing that the danger is severe enough, it actually turns off your logical brain. It also actually turns off your emotional brain. And it's hyper focused on things you're seeing, things you're hearing per se.
Okay.
And so both with like the hyena, and with the snake, like it is not logical that I froze once I heard the noise. Like it didn't rattle, it just hissed for whatever reason again. But there is that element of like it, like you can't engage in logical behavior because your brain and body are determining you're not safe.
Yeah.
And so it was a really interesting experience for me that, like, as my cousin phrased it, if me, Zack, had a bingo card of the worst possible traumas I could experience in life, the free space would be getting bit by a rattlesnake. Like that would be the worst potential thing that could happen to me. And as experienced as I am knowing how to heal from trauma and help heal from trauma, it was crazy to me how quickly that kicked in, how it took probably a couple hours for my logical brain to come back in, and how quickly my logical brain was to be very harsh and judgmental about me, of like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you move? Why didn't you, take steps? Why didn't you do this? Similar with the hyena. But I know that's how it works. And so I kind of just let my mind do that, but didn't take that as fact. That's not fact. If your body is determining danger, your body chooses how you're going to respond, which also then ties into, your buddy storming off in anger, something socially, something about the mountain, something about that, basically shut off his logical brain because he wasn't reacting logically. He was reacting out of anger, out of defensiveness, out of whatever, and he didn't probably have much of a say in how he was responding. It just responded for whatever, it just responded in getting you out of there. And so, like then the nightmares came of snakes. I had nightmares for about a month, and I knew this is an event that for me personally could very likely ruin me ever hiking again, ever hunting again. And that's not what I want, So, thankfully, I'm really close with my uncle. And so I knew that, one, connecting with people you trust is foundational in healing with trauma. And so, and this applies to any degree of trauma, anytime your body activates. Also, just so, people can, apply this and be aware, it also activates if you see that, or even through social media or stuff like that. So, this ties into the Charlie Kirk stuff. This ties into the other things. If you perceive a threat to yourself, it activates this system in your body. And okay. I think we're seeing, some of this of, a lot of, emotional expression, a lot of danger expression, a lot of feeling threatened and in danger, based off of political party or religious affiliation, stuff like that, even with recent events. But the keys to healing is reconnecting with people that are in your group. And I was glad my uncle was there, and I knew I could talk through it with my uncle, and that was going to decrease the permanent damage it did on me. I went hiking again with my uncle pretty soon afterwards, and I was so jumpy. I was extremely jumpy, and I knew I would. I knew I would be, and I just had to let myself work through that, And then I kept doing hikes, but I went with really close friends. I went with my cousin. I went this other stuff, and that's come down quite a bit for me. Granted, I bought snake shin guards instantly, upon getting home. Like there was no question.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad to say that it was just a trauma for me, and it's not continued into PTSD, because I did all these things to help my body and my brain work through it in the time. And so I hope to share these stories with the hyena and the rattlesnake in terms of we are engaged in a fun, dangerous hobby, If we can stay in an activated mode, meaning that we're in fight or flight, that's usually going to create less trauma for us than if we end up in freeze mode, where we just freeze. Yeah. And so since I knew I froze with the rattlesnake, and because I had to sit so still with the hyena, there is a chance that could do significant damage to my brain or my body. And so I knew that I had to be extremely good at connecting with my support group, staying engaged in movement, letting my body work through stuff. And those things have just stayed as events that now I can laugh about or see about. And they're not, they have not had continual damage at this point. So just want to kind of share those as like examples of, like we inherently know as hunters some of the stuff. Like I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this be like, that makes complete sense because that's what we've done. It is very instinctual. Our bodies are designed to heal from trauma unless we are cut off from our support groups, which does happen in some traumas. Like you don't feel like you can open up and share what's going on for you because you're embarrassed or you don't know how to talk about it, or you get into a freeze state, which a lot of, abuse and situations that happen put people in freeze states. So my message is like, we have a lot of tools at our disposals as hunters. There's a lot of tools out there. So get help, help the people around you, help the people that you love, and let's live, better lives. For sure.
Man. Absolutely. What's funny is I was going to share a rattlesnake fact with you, but I don't want to be giving you nightmare fuel now.
Hey, I'm good now. I'm good now. So
good?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm good now.
I think I've maybe mentioned this on the podcast before, but in Texas, right? I lived in Texas for a few years. They have a big wild hog problem. The wild hogs love themselves a rattlesnake. And so much so, the rattlesnakes have stopped rattling because they realize that it puts themselves in danger and they'll get eaten. So now you got a bunch of rattlers in Texas that just bite. They don't make any noises.
I heard this
terrifying.
It is terrifying. I heard the same thing here, that because we've been killing all the rattlesnakes that do rattle, because, they disturb us, that it's kind of genetically shifted them to rattle less as well.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
So, I hate it. I hate it so much.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, do you have another quick story for us? I know that we do have a limited window here, and I want to stay within that, be respectful of your time. If you got a quick one, we can do it, or you can tell the people where they can find you. Your call, sir. Yeah, we'll get you back on because I have a feeling you have a lot more stories. Do you have a quick one?
I do have a lot more stories. A quick one's not quite coming to mind.
I had a feeling. You seem like
you're a
great storyteller.
Thank you. Thank you. I also love going down. I love going down rabbit holes, which was great for you in the storytelling. Yeah, it was fantastic.
No, this has been fun. Well, then let's do this, Zach, man. Let's share all the places people can find you, and then we'll just pencil you in. Typically, it's I mean, it's sad to have to wait a whole year, but like we'll bring you back on in a year, and you'll have a whole bunch more stories. I know you have black bear stories, elk stories, all sorts of fun stuff. So share where the folks can find you, your book, etc. And then again, we'll link everything in the show notes.
I'd say easiest. On Instagram or Facebook is the Hunting for Happiness social media page. Currently, I can only practice in Utah, and my therapist can only practice in Utah. However, a law is passed in a lot of states called the Counseling Compact that probably within 6 months we'll be able to do therapy across state lines, which would probably be mostly telehealth. So probably check out the Counseling Compact and see where your state's at in that. I would say, like if you're in Utah, I'm in parts of northern Utah with my practice, and so my counseling website is butterfieldcn.com. And I would say, I'm really passionate about my job. I'm really passionate about hunting, and just trying to help everyone live better lives.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, a little bit of your terrified nightmares, etc. And then, of course, for reaching out in the first place to you listeners, guys, check Zack out. Also, if you have some stories, make sure you go and find our little link. I think it's in the show notes. I don't know where I put it. I'm getting messages all over the place. Someone found me on WhatsApp the other day, and I was like, I didn't even know I had a WhatsApp.
Amazing. Oh, I meant to say for my book, it's only on like Amazon right now or Audible. And so I know people don't always want to buy through Amazon, but that's the easiest for book publishers that I found, especially self-publishers like I am.
Absolutely. Cool, Zach. Well, thank you again, man. I appreciate it. We will absolutely have you back on because you already teased a bunch of stories to me, and I want to hear them. So we'll have you back on soon.
I'm happy to. Thank you. Anytime.
All right, guys, that's it. Another couple stories in the books. I want to thank Zack again for reaching out. being brave, sharing some stories. Also, I want to thank him for what he's doing, right? Mental health is really important. I think I mentioned it in this episode. I had a buddy go a little crazy in the field, and he obviously has a lot of things going on at home, and I'm going to connect the two of them. But if you guys have anything, reach out to Zack. I put links to everything in the show notes. It's important to stay healthy for yourself, mental, physical, all that stuff. But for yourself, for your family, and even your friends, your hunting buddies, whatever it is, it doesn't do anything but help everybody to get help. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. I'm trying to get a few more followers there. I post the full video episodes there. You get the full video on Spotify. But thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. Again, I'll ask for feedback. If you think we could do something better, let us know. But that's it. Go ahead now, and why don't you go ahead and make some stories of your own. Thank you.
Join us at a Friends of NRA event where freedom, fun, and firearms come together like nowhere else. With more than 600 events held across the country, there's always one happening near you. From exciting games to exclusive auctions featuring one-of-a-kind firearms and gear you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're a lifelong hunter, a competitive shooter, or simply passionate about defending freedom, there is a seat for you. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you and get ready for a night you won't forget.